Hi guys, I am going to go over your math today with you. We're going to do some of it together and then you're going to try some of it on your own. I'm wearing my handy dandy headphones and microphone today so that I can block out any of the background noise that might be going on around me so that hopefully you won't be able to hear it quite as much as I am hearing it. We'll try. You'll have to let me know how it goes. Okay, so we are going to be looking at decimals to the thousandths today. Yesterday we started to work with decimals and those pieces that come after the decimal point, right? We worked on that game and it might have been confusing, but I'll try to upload a video later today to show you exactly how to play so that if you want to play in the future, you can, and you can have a guide to show you exactly how to do it, okay? I know it was a little bit confusing. Sometimes they are, but the more practice, the easier it gets, right? So I'm going to share my paper with you. We are working with decimals to the thousandth, like I said, and this is in your workbook, and it's on page 21, okay? Page 21. Now, let me get a little bit closer, or try anyway. And the first part of this says that we're going to divide the square into 10 equal parts. Shade one part, okay? 10 equal parts. This square has 10 squares across, 10 units across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 10 units down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we know that this is a flat. This is 100 units in here, just like our flat. Now it wants us to divide it into 10 equal parts. And if you remember, 10 rods make a flat, 10 rods. So that would be 10 equal parts. So I'm going to pretend right now that this is one of my rods and I'm going to shade it. That is one part of this flat, okay? And if I was to shade all of them, there would be 10 of them. So what I shaded is 1/10 of this flat. Now, if you remember, when we're writing the decimal, we have our decimal point, and then the column right after the decimal point is the tenths. Let me show you on the screen. See, we have our hundredths, our 100,000s, our 10,000. Wrong one. Try again. Here it is. Here's my decimal point. We have our tens and our ones. This is our whole number. There's the decimal point right here. And then we have our tenths right after the decimal point. Then our hundredths, and then our thousandths. But the column right after the decimal point is the tenths. And we have 1/10 shaded. Let me stop share. We have 1/10 shaded in our flat. So I'm going to put a 1 right after that decimal point, and that is the decimal 1/10. This means the same thing as that. This is 1/10. This is what it looks like, 1 out of the 10 pieces. And this is 1/10. Okay, so now it says divide each of the 10 parts into 10 equal parts. So what do you think that means? What do you think we're going to have to do if we're dividing the 10 parts into 10 equal parts? What might that look like when we are shading? So I'm going to take this tenth and I'm going to divide it into tenths. Because there's 10 in here, right? And I'm going to shade one of those parts. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I took that 10 and I divided it into 10 equal parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, my hand's covering, sorry. These are the 10 equal parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I'm going to shade that one part. It says shade one part using a different color. I used orange at first. I'm going to go over this in blue. Okay. Now, this is 1 unit in how much of the whole? What part of the whole is shaded with this color, this orange and blue mixed together? It's 1 unit out of 100 units. So the fraction is 1/100th. So now we're going to write our decimal. This one was 0 wholes and 1/10. This one, 0 wholes and 1/100th. How are we going to write 1/100th? I'm going to share my screen again with our place value chart. We have 0/10ths. We have 1/100th. So 0/10ths, 1/100th. And this is where the decimal point is. So it's going to be on our paper 0.01. That 1 is in the 100th place. 1/100th, 1/100th. Now, if we took this teeny tiny square and divided that unit into 100 equal parts, or into 10 equal parts, we divide each of these 100 parts into 10 equal parts, how many parts will the model have? Well, I'm going to tell you, it's going to have 1,000 parts. If we took that one little unit and divided it into 10, and then we had all of those divided into 10, we would have 1,000 parts, right? So if we shaded one of those teeny tiny little parts, we would have 1/1000th. And the decimal, 0 wholes, zero tenths, 0/100ths, and 1/1000th. So we'd have 0, 0, 1, 1/1000th. We put that 1 in the 1,000th place. Putting that 1 in the 1,000th place, right? Right here. Okay. Now, here it says, compare the number of hundredths to the number of tenths, okay? There are more 100ths than there are tenths, right? We know that from our rods and our units. When we have our rods, that has 10 pieces in it, right? When we have our units, there's only 1. So when we compare the hundredths to the tenths, this is the tenths and this is the hundredths, which one is greater? What number would be greater? 1/10 would be greater than 1/100th. Because remember, that 100th is a very small piece. The 10th is that whole rod. What about the number of thousandths? What is greater, hundredths or thousandths? One 100th is actually greater than 1/1000th. This is a teeny tiny piece. 1/100th is greater than 1/1000th. 1/1000th is a teeny tiny piece. Remember, we cut that unit, that tiny little unit, up into 100 to 1,000 parts. Well, we cut it up into 10, and then there's 10 of all of that. Each one of these cut up into 10. These are teeny, 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 teeny tiny pieces. Okay. One of the ways that I could describe that in showing you how to compare is imagine that we have a pizza. If I cut my pizza into 10 pieces, broke. If I cut my pizza into 10 pieces, right now I have 8. I'm gonna cut this one and this one, 9, 10. 1, 2, we're starting right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pieces of pizza. You might want a piece of this pizza, right? It's a fairly normal size pizza. But what if, let's look. So this pizza, this slice right here is 1/10 of the pizza. It's 1 out of 10 pieces. But what if I cut this pizza now into 100 pieces? I'm gonna cut it up into 100 pieces. Not really, because that would take me a long, long time, and I don't want to waste your time here. But imagine that I cut it up into 100 pieces, right? And then I only gave you one of those pieces. 1 out of the 100 pieces. Which one would you want? Would you want one of the pieces that are 1/100th of a slice? Or would you want one that is 1/10 of a slice? The 1/10 is larger or greater than 1 out of 100 tiny little slices. Does that make sense? What do you think, Arabella? Does that make sense? I hope so. So we know that 1/10 is greater than 1/100th. Now, here is the place value chart right up here. You notice 0 ones, there's your decimal point, 0 tenths, 0 hundredths, 1 1,000th, and that's what that looks like, 1 1,000th. And that's the same as 0.001. The third place to the right, 1, 2, 3, is the thousandths place. Okay, so here's our first example. Write 5 1,000ths as a decimal. So we know that we have 0 ones. Here's our decimal point. There's 0 tenths, because look it, we're talking about 1,000ths, and this is only a single digit number. So we have 0 tenths, 0 hundredths, we have 5 1,000ths. So we would write this decimal as 0.005. It's in the thousandths place. Now look at this one. This one has 555 thousandths, and we're going to write it as a decimal. So there's no whole numbers in front of this fraction. It's just a fraction, so we have 0 ones. Then we have our decimal point. And look at 555. So we're going to write 5, 5, 5. And we read this as 555 55 thousandths. So 0.555 is 555 thousandths. Now, let's look at number 1. Number 1, we're going to write it as a fraction. So we know that this is the tenths place, this is the hundredths place, this is the thousandths place. So as a fraction, we have just the 9 on the top, and we're all the way out to the third spot to the right, so that's the thousandths. 9 1,000ths. Let's look at number 2. I don't have any whole numbers. I just have my fraction. So I'm going to put my 63 on the top of the fraction. And I'm 1, 2, 3 spots to the right. This is the thousandths place, so my fraction is 1,000th. 63 1,000ths. Let's try this one. Can you do this one on your own? There's 0 holes. What am I going to put on the top of my fraction? 194. 194. 3 spots to the right. So I know that I have to put 1,000 on the bottom. 194 thousandths. Now we need to write this as a decimal. There's no whole number in front here. So we're going to have our decimal point first. It's only 1 digit and it's over 1,000. So I know I need to go 1, 2, 3 spaces to the right. My 3 goes in that space, and then I have zeros in front. Decimal point, 1, 2, 3 spaces to the right because my fraction is 1,000. Try this one all on your own. After you finish, you're going to move on to page 23. Page 23 has more of the same, where you are going to be writing the fraction and then writing them as a decimal. Now be careful, because these two are 3 spaces to the right, which means that your bottom of your fraction is going to be 1,000. But look at this number here. It's only 2 spaces to the right. This column is what column? 1, 2. It's the hundredths column. So what number is going to go on the bottom of your fraction? 100, because it's the hundredths spot, the hundredths place. And this one only goes 1 to the right. What place is 1 to the right of the decimal? Tenths. So the number that we're going to put underneath on the fraction is a 10. Okay? All right. Let's look at number 15. 4/10 is 1/10 of what number? How might we solve that problem? What do you think? How might we solve that problem? tenths is 1/10 of what number? Did you say 4? You would be correct. 4/10 is 1/10 of 4. What about 52 100ths? 52 100ths is 10 times as great as what number? This is very tricky. But if you know about multiplying 10, you know that we will need to add a 0. But this time it's going to be backwards. So if I have 52 100ths and I multiply 52 100ths, wow, I'm not multiplying 52 100ths, I'm dividing, because I want to know what number is 10 times less, because this is 10 times as great. I want to know what's 10 times less. So I'm getting smaller. So I'm looking at 52 1,000ths, which would equal what decimal? This is 10 times as great. What decimal is 52 1,000ths? Remember, thousands, we go 3 to the right. So what would go here? Right? All right. I'd like you to try, work hard to complete this page all the way down to 23. If you can take a picture and turn it in, that would be fantastic. Okay. I'd like to see your work. All right. That's a lot of work for today. So you can stop at the bottom of page 23. Just do your best, because I know these fractions can be super confusing. Okay, try your best. If you have questions, please, please, please feel free to ask. And I hope that you have an awesome day.